10, 219, 219.
Forward Progress, a Chicago Bears podcast with Dan Bernstein and Matt Abaticola on 312 Sports.
Well, this has certainly turned into a very different postgame show than I thought we were going to be doing. I had a list of all the reasons why the Bears were not up to snuff, why this was the market correction that had been coming for a long time, and I'll be damned if Ben Johnson, on what was not his best day as Bears head coach / play caller, that his team did exactly what he said they would do in the locker room after the last game, is that you can never count this team out in the fourth quarter right now. We are brought to you here on 312 Sports by Beer Church Brewing, New Buffalo's brewery, pizzeria, and a historic church. Wood-fired Neapolitan pizza, small batch craft beer, brunch every day. Visit beerchurchbrewing.com. I am Dan Bernstein. That is Matt Abaticola. And the Chicago Bears somehow down 20-10 thanks to a miscalculation by Brian Daboll, in my estimation, have been able to come back and win this game. And the Bears are now 6-3 on the season, with the Giants dropping to 2-8.
Well, in a game, and that, by the way, was the Giants' 11th straight road loss. They were looking to get off the snide there with 10 in a row going into this game. It is now 11 in a row. The last time they won on the road was at October of last season. And there's a few things about this game. The Bears offensively were just off. I know we've talked about rhythm and timing. They were off the entire game. The wide receivers had too many drops. The play calling, I thought, was questionable at times. Caleb Williams was off for most of this game. But there are two things about this game that will stand out to me. Number one, the Giants are not a very good team, and that helps. And that's great, and you play who's on your schedule, and a win is a win. And the second thing that will stand out for me in this game, the Giants being bad, and the second thing for this game is that the Bears finished with 3 penalties against them in this game. 3 penalties. That's how you beat a bad team when you are less than playing anywhere near your ability to play offense in this league. And we've seen this Bears team can be a very good offensive team, with explosive plays on the run game, explosive plays in the pass games, and it was off today. And when you play a bad team and you don't hurt yourself like the Bears have been known to do this year, you can find a way to win a game like this at home. Your quarterback in the fourth quarter turns clutch with his feet.
Well,
plays.
I was going to add that
are there to be made.
I think it would be remiss not to add to that list a star turn by Caleb Williams on those final 2 drives in the fourth quarter, where he absolutely, with his feet, being able to stay alive in the pocket, being able to keep his eyes downfield. On a game when I saw his eyes dropping too often, he was having problems with hot reads all game until those final 2 drives, and he was brilliant. He absolutely, this was, in the end, when it mattered, a win because Caleb Williams was their quarterback.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We've heard Ben Johnson talk about Caleb, how, and other coaches have talked about this too, and even Caleb says it, when the pressure is highest, he slows down. Everything slows down for him. And it's really interesting when I've heard that, because I want to know how can a professional take that mindset and that approach when it's not like a super high impact situation, when it's the middle of the game and there's still a lot of time left. How does he lock in so well with the high pressure? Maybe that's just how he's built, and that's just how he focuses, and he focuses even more when the pressure is on at a very high level. But I'd love to be able to see him be able to utilize that type of focus and utilization of his skills when it's not like the end of the game, do or die, my hair's on fire type of thing. You know, one thing, Dan, I love about Caleb is his ability to elude pass rush in the pocket. I think what he needs to do, though, is when he eludes that first guy, just go.
Well, I would
just
also...
go. Like, stop looking for the second or third guy to find. Like, just go.
My issue is when eluding the first guy is due to his inability to identify the hot receiver created by that guy. He shouldn't have to elude him. He should be able to throw to whoever that guy was covering. or
Yeah, but
wherever they've rotated. That's the next level of this.
Yeah,
I'm not disagreeing with you, but if this is going to get where it's got to be, I don't need him dancing back there. I need him saying, this guy's coming. That means that the throw is to this guy, because that's where we're going with it, and to know it.
But even on guys when it's coming from the defensive line, and that maybe it's a bad tackle or a bad adjustment or a missed assignment, and that defensive lineman gets in and he eludes that guy, does that 360 spin that he does, then take off there instead of looking, instead of trying to spin back around and look for a guy. And I do want to say something about what you've said there, because there was a play where Greg Olsen got on Caleb Williams, and it was a late and a bad pass to DeAndre Swift coming out of the backfield. I think it was on the third to last drive. And if you watch that replay on it, yeah, it wasn't a very good throw, and he could have identified it sooner, but DeAndre Swift got stuck behind an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman, and it wasn't an immediate release where he got to that area where the pressure came from. So that was not totally on Caleb Williams there. I know it got highlighted by Olsen, who found several opportunities today to highlight some negative things about Caleb Williams. And Fox really used their replays while missing other opportunities to show replays to keep going back and forth to what Greg Olsen wanted to point out about the deficiencies of Caleb Williams. I thought it was pretty interesting today.
I've got a couple bouquets to throw. One is at Montez Sweat, who, when it mattered most on consecutive plays, he got the sack of Wilson, and then he was the primary tackler on Devin Singletary to hold him to 3 yards. That set up the 3rd and 7. And I can quote you, I can show you the timestamp on what I said in my little friends group chat here. That before that play on 3rd and 7, I'm quoting myself, 2:55 p.m. Heat him the fuck up here, 0 blitz. And indeed, they sent the house, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who had a terrific game. He may be a handful to deal with, but until they have some issues with him, that was a savvy pickup by Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, and Dennis Allen, because he's been one of the more impactful players on this defense. That sack was huge. The next play was the shanked punt. Shades of, for the number of people who have pointed out, the Sean Landetta, the Giants in Bears weather, and watching a Giants punter nearly miss his foot. Maybe that's contagious now after the Broncos punter was doing that. But it's weird, because the smarter football mind in me, even fresh off the excitement of that win, still thinks the Bears are a blob team. Still thinks the Bears are capable of beating anybody and losing to anybody. And yet this fourth quarter identity that they seem to be forging here, though it's not something I can quantify, it has to mean something to them. And I guarantee you, as we speak, in the locker room somewhere, as they're doing their good, better, best, that Ben Johnson is reminding his team of that. I don't think they ran the ball enough today. I don't think they ran the ball against a terrible run defense. I don't think they established the run. Where was the damn screen game? The Giants were begging to be screened, and I would love to know why. They tried it early with DJ Moore, and that my over not great on DJ today.
Dan, too, and remember, that's the 3rd time now a defensive end has read a play, has read that flat screen pass, and made a play on the ball. That's the 3rd time it's happened now.
It was Andrew Van Ginkel, right?
Yep.
Who did it, and then you was it Crosby, or I know there was another one.
Yes, it was Crosby in the Raiders game.
Where you referenced Van Ginkel, yes.
Burns in this game.
Yeah, this was I think we want to take that one out of the playbook or run it out of a different formation, because there were I don't know how they won this game. Also, while I'm saying some nice things, Noah Sewell had a rough one.
He did have a rough one. Oh, and there's one other thing I want to point out about this Bears victory. And I'm gonna throw a big bouquet of flowers to Russell Wilson, and Jackson Dart being hurt probably helped the Bears significantly.
Probably.
Yeah.
You kidding?
Possibly, because I know there's a little bit of a difference between Dart and Wilson. But yeah, I'd say that probably played a little bit of a factor in why the Bears were able to pull this game out.
Wow, and think about that play by Jaquan Brisker, busting up the triangle, playing the pocket to break up that touchdown. Think about the tackle breaking play on 4th down by DeAndre Swift.
Oh my God, that was a great
He
run.
ran into two guys who also collided with each other a little bit. There were a lot of little things that ended up mattering in this game. Some busted coverages. It was mostly bad defense by the Bears until Dart left the game. And I had Russell Wilson in for the first play of the fourth quarter was when they were facing that 1st and 10 after the defensive holding call on Grady Jarrett.
You talked about, which was a bullshit call. You talked about the opportunities for screenplays for the Bears, which they didn't take advantage of. I talked about, the Bears and the Giants, both in the bottom 4 of the league in yards per carry allowed. The Giants were number 1. They were 32nd in the league at 5.5. I thought, even though they rushed for a lot of yards, but a lot of that came off of scramble plays from Caleb Williams, I thought they could have run the ball more and been a little more effective with it, with a team that loves to give up the run. But I do want to point out one thing that really, really pissed me off. And if the broadcast and Greg Olson is going to lecture me as a fan about the hit to the head on the quarterback and how the really bad call on Noah Sewell, there's 3 guys that are wrapping the quarterback up, and he gets spun into Noah Sewell, who's now running, still in motion, and they collide, and he hits him in the head. I'm not going to dispute that.
And his logic is sound. He said, the onus is on the defensive player. You simply cannot do that. You cannot make contact, and that is wherever your limbs are in space is your responsibility.
Right, but don't lecture me, because as he's going through the previous play and not talking about what happened to Caleb Williams, he's still showing a replay of that play in the end zone that Brisker breaks up. Caleb Williams slides, gives himself up, and gets kneed in the back of the head. Do not lecture me. He even pointed out, the Bears fans are going wild here watching the replay. Shut the fuck up. Don't lecture me about this rule and then not say that, not call that play out, and not have a flag thrown when Caleb Williams gets kneed in the back of the head after giving himself up.
That's why I said it exactly the way I said it, because by the letter of his case, when he explained, no matter how that contact is made,
the onus is on the defensive player.
The burden is on the defensive player to not make it, especially because the number of concussions and number of traumatic brain injuries that are incurred by a knee to the head or an elbow to the head. It can happen. It has nothing to do with wearing a helmet. And then he saw it. I don't think he saw it before the replay.
No, he didn't. Because
and I
he
think
was
I
too
think
excited to get back to
yes,
the replay.
He
and
was
teach
in
us
too
something.
deep.
Yes.
And I think he was in too deep. And then he just tried to slough it off after it happened. And I was standing there screaming, "No, no, no!" A knee to the head for the reasons that you just listed in fine detail.
Lectured us, Dan. Lectured us about it. And criticized the Bears fans for watching the replay at Soldier Field and the fans are going wild on a replay here. Because they should have been.
They should. And you know what? I was going wild too. I was one of those fans.
I was too.
I was that is absolutely when he said, "Oh, he's just trying to jump over him." I don't care. Based on what you were saying before, trying to jump over him or not, he need him in the head. But I don't want to get too bogged down in that. We'll have plenty of time to do that on Forward Progress tomorrow and throughout the week.
Well, no, I needed to bring it up while I was still fresh and angry, because by tomorrow I won't be. So
I'm not mad. And by the way, did I read the weather forecast correctly? 10 inches of snow between now and tomorrow morning?
Here?
Yeah, did I read that right?
I hope not.
I hope I did. I thought I saw a change of the forecast that said we might be in these very same seats tomorrow.
I'll say, well, that's the case. Hope your seat's comfy, pal.
I was going to say, depending on what's going on. This was a fascinating game that I want to shake Brian Daboll's hand for not only deciding to go for the field goal on the 1 yard line. Not only that, but even with the penalty, giving him enough time to think, hey, maybe we consult the win expectancy charts here. Maybe we understand that this is all you're doing is leaving a door open for a team that does feel that it can come back in the fourth quarter. Amazing to me that that is when Wilson, that was the first time he had been in. And I don't know if that changed their calculus, but it's still just wrong.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm a Giants fan, I'm going absolutely crazy after this game. And for Brian Daboll to the last 2 seasons, Dan, they were 2-7 after 9, 2-7 after 9, 2-7 going into this game, and now 2-8. And that decision there, that to me, with the history of what he's done the last couple seasons, is enough to be fired. I launch him after this game because you actually have a quarterback, and I haven't watched too much Jackson Dart. And I know there were some people that were really high on him coming out of the draft, and some that weren't. That's a really good young quarterback in the NFL that has some really good potential.
But he can't run that much. The stuff that they're running with him, the stuff that they're running with him is not really quarterback stuff. It's college stuff, and he's not going to last very long if they continue to use him.
And we saw it here. He got hit by on that carry, which eventually got him out of the game. And that tackle too, that forced fumble was CJ
Gardner-Johnson. Yep.
So I mean, he really for 2 sacks, had a forced fumble. I think one of our listeners said earlier that he's has to be the defensive player of the week, and I think as it stands right now, without looking at other games, he's got to be a name up there for consideration. What a great first 2 games he's had as a Chicago Bear.
And came back from injury at one point. I believe that he was out and his return was questionable, and then he came right in, and Dennis Allen felt great blitzing him off the edge. I don't know how you don't have somebody designated to keep an eye on him or at least scream something that he might be coming. Tell me if you're with me on this. I've got 2 things that I want to raise for a vote for the committee here.
Okay.
One is more Luther Burden.
Yeah.
More
I
Luther Burden.
He runs hard. I didn't know he ran so hard with the ball.
That dude is a playmaker. And wherever you want to put him, if it means less Olamide Zaccheaus, fine, because he was awful. Also, when I mentioned Noah Sewell, they really missed TJ Edwards. So if they want to club up that broken hand and he can heal from his hamstring, the sooner he gets back, the better, because it's a big difference when he's not in. What does Devin Duvernay do?
Nothing.
What does he do?
Yeah, that's
come on, man! Start your feet, move your feet. There were holes. There were places to go. He just couldn't get up to speed.
I would rather have a third kicker on the roster than having him. Seriously, he doesn't do anything on the kick game, on the return game at all.
Let's go.
Let's go. I do want to point out our guy, my new favorite player, Darnell Cartwright. There's 2 plays on him I want to highlight. Early in the game, first quarter, he gets tripped up and he trips and falls forward. And then he's going down face first and turns it into a somersault. So he trips over someone's foot and turns the fall into a somersault and hops back up. And the second play, late in the game, the one-handed punch to the chest of Burns, number 0, and knocks him to the ground like he's a child.
Well, what we need with the
was
somersault,
amazing.
I believe that an intrepid reporter should follow up on this. The Bears are lucky enough to have in Jonathan Owens' wife somebody who I believe can maximize the gymnastic possibilities of Darnell Wright. And if he is going to have now both a cartwheel and a somersault, there's got to be some kind of trick play in here where Ben Johnson needs to hire Simone Biles, who's Jonathan Owens' wife. We need Simone Biles to be a special consultant to the offense, put something in there to get that man something, have him. I'm telling you, I said, what did I say last time? Round off, flip flop back, or maybe just round off, flip flop, something rudimentary that he'll be able to do without a springboard.
I love it, dude. I love it. It was so great when I saw it. A trip, he turns into a somersault and pops right back up. Just really, really great. And then seriously, it was a left hand, one-handed punch to the chest, and he went down, and then he stood over him, and then he kind of helped him up at the end because the play went the other way, and he wasn't going to get involved in the play. And he's like, "Oh, here, little boy, are you okay? Let me help you up now after I knock you down. It's okay." But wow, what a play! I love it, man. So good.
And a couple times we saw Nashawn Wright show up with the fumble recovery and the interception that was then knocked out of his hands by Olszewski, which is one where just take a step away from him, take a knee, whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
But it was in position to make that play. He's certainly not standing out as not belonging out there for the moment, and certainly with Malik Neighbors hurt, and obviously with Cam Scatterbu hurt, and then with Jackson Dart hurt. Those are all mitigating factors in this Bears win, but it's apparent that they're conspiring to shorten our lives here with some of these games. It really is fascinating what they've done the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and the Bears with 3 penalties for 25 yards, and you've talked about getting 6 or less. And again, it's one of those things that you do where you're not playing your best football, but you're a better team. You're not clicking really. There's really no good offensive rhythm, and when you don't hurt yourself with 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 penalties like the Giants did today, 10 penalties against them, you can pull out these kind of games late in the game. You get some bad coaching decisions. You get some a fortunate injury for the opposing quarterback who was really playing pretty well all game against you, and then you bring in a guy who probably shouldn't be a second string quarterback in this league anymore, and you're able to get a win that you probably shouldn't have won. But luckily, on the road or playing at home against a bad road team, you're able to pull out the 4-point victory.
How about the catch by Colston Loveland on 3rd and 10? The Bears started at their own 9. There was the Theo Benedict holding call that they did a very, very nice job of uncalling.
Yep.
Then it was the missed throw to Rome Odunze where he had him open. He might have been able to make a spectacular catch, but it was more an overthrow than it was a drop on a day of drops. And it was then Williams with that patented spin, although Justin Fields had the same kind of spin. It really is that both of them are particularly good at that. And as he raced to his left, made a pass you're not taught to throw, and that is across your body, a right-handed quarterback running left to the middle of the field. And Colston Loveland made a remarkable fingertip catch, and especially coming on the heels of the missed connection before. It was sandwiched between 2 drops because the next one, Zacchaeus dropped, and that's what set up the 29-yard scramble, the longest run that Caleb Williams has had as a Bear. So it was Loveland that kept that alive with a terrific play.
Yeah, and I see a few people have mentioned in the chat, in the messages about Noah Sewell, and as you highlighted and pointed out, Noah Sewell having a rough game. We highlighted him a few times early on when he wasn't needed to play more, and I think we're seeing the impact of having more time on the field, kind of taking away from his effectiveness and utilization that Dennis Allen can have for him. So like you said, if you need to club that up and get that all taped, that broken hand as soon as possible, that would probably be helpful because the Bears really did miss T.J. Edwards today.
Yeah, it was, and even before the breakaway where Sewell missed that tackle, I thought there were a couple times that he struggled, that his eyes were easily getting fooled, and there was a completion that was made over him when he didn't have his zone drop deep enough in what looked like a 2 deep, essentially a cover 2, where he was the buzz guy moving back and just didn't get enough depth in that drop. So. But to make sense of this, last week I believe I said it signifies nothing. At some point, I think the aggregation of these kinds of wins over overmatched teams and having to come back to do it in games it looks like you deserve to lose, at some point, the larger story is it has to be a desire. It has to be an understanding that we're not out of it until that clock shows zeros. And maybe they don't see the benefits of it this year. I think if I can distill any larger meaning for the Bears being 6-3 and how they've gotten to 6-3, it would be the seeds of belief in your coach. And I think he's got a little bit of a thumb to point today on some of this. It wouldn't be so bad if he stood up in front and said, "Hey, Caleb bailed me out today. There were a lot of you guys and the blocking by Cole Kmet on the Williams scramble touchdown. A lot of you guys kind of bailed me out today. I think that would go a long way because he is pouring a foundation for his players to believe in their chances even when it looks bleak. I can't quantify the value of that, but I can't ignore it either.
Correct. And as you just pointed out with Cole Kmet, what our listener here is Fred, big props to Kmet. Yeah, he did have some really big blocks today. Thanks for bringing that up because I would have forgot to mention his blocking, which was exceptional. Lined up as a fullback at one play, made some exceptional blocking out of the backfield as the tight end as well. So really good. And we've seen Ben Johnson take blame at times. And sometimes I think we've discovered and kind of learned that he's doing it to cover up for players or kind of take away a little bit of the focus. And I think he will say, hey, I just didn't call a good game or I need to do better at this. And remember, he's still learning too. Yep. He's still learning too, but it's amazing how he's learning on the job and still being so impactful in what the Bears are able to do in his first season as head coach. Real quick, before I forget, I want to just run through these scores because we talk about the blob of the NFL.
It's so funny. I was just calling up the NFL scoreboard as you were talking because I was going to point out that their opponent next week, the Vikings, has now dropped to 4-5. And if I saw that Jonathan Grenard left this game, and I do not know if he returned, but that is something to watch going into next week.
The Texans beat the Jaguars 36-29. A fun game this morning, Colts and Falcons in Berlin. The Colts with the win in overtime, 31-25. Jonathan Taylor went off. Dude, we were driving back from Michigan, and I was listening to the game on Sirius, and Oliver Wilson and who was it? Arbuckle. Who's he with? God darn it. I don't know if it's Charles. Gosh, I can't remember who it was, but Oliver Wilson on the
I only
call.
go too deep in Arbuckles. I've got Fatty Arbuckle and I've got John Arbuckle from Garfield. I think
have to look up who it was. Former, he was a coach. He played in the NFL. I think he was a tight end maybe in the NFL. But man, what a really Oliver Wilson is such a on Westwood One, just a really enjoyable call. I mean, the British accent. It's so fun to hear American football with a really heavy British accent and just the different terminology. And he talked about Jonathan Taylor tying Edgerrin James for touchdowns for the Colts, and he says he leveled up. It's just the different use of phrases. It was really interesting and a fun listen. Of course, Bears get the win over the Giants. The Dolphins, Dan, beat the Bills 30-13, and the Bills didn't score until the fourth quarter. There was about 8 minutes to go in the game before they got their first points on the board. So 30-13, the Bills lose. Ravens down the Vikings, like you mentioned, 27-19. It was the Jets over the Browns, 27-20. So another win there for Aaron Glenn and the Jets. Patriots over the Buccaneers, 28-23.
Yeah, they're good.
And the Saints down the Panthers, 17-7. And early on in the second games, the Lions have a 7-0 lead over the Commanders. The Rams 7-0 on the 49ers. And the Seahawks up 2 touchdowns early on the Cardinals, 14-0. Take a quick look here at the standings, Dan, as it goes right now. The Lions do have the lead early in that game. But at 6-3, if the Lions were to lose and the Packers were to lose tomorrow, Dan, that would put the Chicago Bears in first place in the NFC North.
All alone atop the NFC North. I'm sorry for laughing. But what this team is putting us through this year is quite something. It really is. It's they're making it worth our time on Sundays. I'll say that. They are absolutely making this, and for a game that, once again, for one of the standards that we set on Forward Progress from the beginning of the season, for the first time we did a post game, was make it look like something other than a Bears game. And it sure did for a while.
Yeah.
It sure looked a whole lot like a Bears game. And I didn't like the play calling. It was, and oh boy, bear weather. This was about to be a repudiation of what we know about bear weather, right? And I'm kidding, because we know it doesn't actually exist. It exists, it just doesn't help the Bears. I was very concerned that this was going to be an epic drop game, and it probably was. Is there a website? Does anyone, I'm sure the gamblers might know, is there a site that actually has a list of the dropped passes by a team in real time? I counted 7.
Yeah, that's what a couple listeners have pointed out. There were 7 drops.
I could be wrong, though, depending on how some are just, and if I don't know if there's an official in an official scorer that actually will rule whether or not it constitutes a drop and how catchable it is and how they decide that, like a baseball scorer ruling an error. But I counted 7. And if you're telling me that you can win a game on a day where one team drops 7 passes, that gets back to what you said about the 3 penalties. You better be buttoned up elsewhere.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. That's the only, that's a formula there that you can come back and win a game when you're not playing your best, is to not shoot yourself in the foot with penalties. Now, yeah, you have some drop passes at all different aspects of the roster. But if you're not playing really stupid football, you can overcome those mistakes by not hurting yourself with extra penalties.
The Bears win 24-20. Let's look at some of the totals. It was
that's what I was just pulling up.
Caleb Williams finished 20 of 36, 220 yards, a passing touchdown, and no interceptions. DeAndre Swift rushed 13 times for 80 yards with a long of 25. Caleb Williams, 63 yards rushing, almost all of them the fourth quarter on 8 attempts with a touchdown and that long of 29. Kyle Monungai rushed 7 times for 28 yards in a workmanlike complimentary performance from him. Rome Odunze targeted 10 times. James Odunze, are you paying attention? James, attention, James Odunze.
Well, he'll say that he got those targets because of him now.
Your son was targeted 10 times. He caught 6. He had 86 yards and a touchdown with a long of 27. Colston Loveland caught all 4 of his targets for 55 yards. Luther Burden caught all 3 of his for 51 yards. DeAndre Swift targeted 8 times, and he caught 5 for 18 yards. Olamide Zaccheaus, 4 targets, 1 catch, 5 yards. Cole Kmet, 2 targets, 1 catch. DJ Moore, 4 targets, no catches.
We talked about it early in the year because Ben Johnson brought it up about body language, and specifically talking about DJ Moore and the body language and doesn't want that. And, I think you correctly called out Ben Johnson at times for his body language on the sideline. Is this a game where he talks to Caleb Williams about his body language?
I think so, passes? Especially after the Zaccheaus end zone drop.
Yes.
He had a little bit of a Carlos Zambrano reaction to that.
Yes.
And that's a no good.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
You can't do that when you miss passes yourself as often as you do as the quarterback. You can't. I know you're the leader, you're the quarterback, but dude, you can't hang your head and put your head back and look up at the sky and be so dramatic about a drop when you're not throwing good balls every time either. I get it. I get being frustrated, but your coach can't call that out and then have you do that as the quarterback either.
I'm glad you brought that up, as I think it's not a huge deal. I mean,
no, it's not a huge deal.
But yeah. It is. That might be, hey, kid, you say, don't be that guy, because you got too much going on here, and I think it'll be it'll be better received after a win once again than it would after a loss. After a loss, it might look like piling on, depending on how it's delivered. But I think in this case, to say great job, memorable rally, outstanding last 2 drives, but that could have been better. I would have no problem if you pointed that out. I would expect it, in fact.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I just don't know if we'll hear about it or if that's just something they do one off. But I get it. I get being frustrated. But you make sure that you're throwing good passes every time. The one drop that Odunze had just off his fingertips, is that pass just a little too far?
Yes.
That's all that was, right?
You got to hit him. Even if he's got to stop for a second, he had a ton of separation there. That is not one where, and I did think he could have laid out for it too.
Okay.
He could have left his feet.
That's what I was wondering. I didn't know if it was a combination of both guys. The throw wasn't quite there. Maybe a little better effort for it.
I would say, I wouldn't say 50-50. It skewed more to the passer than the receiver, but the receiver could have done a better job with effort to bail out the passer.
Yeah, and look at the line for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. 9 total tackles, 7 solo, 2 sacks, 2 for loss, forced the fumble, 2 QB hits. I mean, it's just what a exceptional game for C.J. GJ in game number 2 with the Chicago Bears. He's been here just over a week now. Yeah,
I know it's a good problem to have, but it's going to be awfully hard to take him off the field when Kyler Gordon comes back. But you don't have a position for him.
No, because I mean he wants to play interior. He wants to.
He's not a
get
boundary
after and blitz
corner.
the quarterback. Yeah, no, for sure.
He's not a safety. He's not a boundary corner. And then the question arises, would you be willing to play Gordon on the outside? Is he good enough to keep Gordon out of his primary position? The answer is probably not. And that you probably look at this as found money, that this is just gravy and a feather in the cap of your pro scouting department, and your coaches and your personnel people being on the same page. But I mean, even if right now he just vanished, what a positive CJ Gardner-Johnson has been.
Yeah, I don't think you can't replace the position of Kyler Gordon with him, but it's football too, and it's really hard to take productive guys off the field. I mean, when he's having such impactful plays, I mean those are significant impactful plays, forcing fumbles, getting to the quarterback, and a team that doesn't really sack the quarterback all that much. It's hard. It's going to be hard to take him off the field, though.
Well, this is why I'm trying to figure out what to do if I want more plays out of Luther Burden, and I want Devin Duvernay to figure out what's going on. If Burden is the backup to Duvernay, if you're playing Burden more, that would be a reason to not play him in the return game. So that also is a bit of a catch-22.
Right.
You don't want to overexpose him in that regard. And maybe you take this for Zacchaeus and you take the whole idea of this, however many drops, whether it's 6 or 7 or 8, as high variance. They're never going to drop this many passes again. Maybe it's the cold, maybe it's the wind, maybe it's something about the football, whatever it is. I don't think for better or for worse, that is anything that's going to repeat itself necessarily.
Yeah, and one of our listeners, can Caleb play the way he plays in crunch time or the fourth quarter for the whole game? We talked about that early on in this show. That I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the focus or just I need to do more and be less of a team guy and just kind of do what I can do to make things happen. If he needs to develop that mentality earlier in a game or in different situations, I'm not sure. And, some people just react differently. And Ben Johnson's talked about it, that everything slows down for him when the pressure's on, and you can't recreate that or make that happen in your brain on your own.
I think part of it might just be the fact that he knows he's going to throw it. Throw it or run it. It may just be that he's not handing it to someone. It's not an RPO. It's not an option read. He knows for sure that he's either chucking it down the field or he's taking off and running, or he's taking off and running to start and then chucking it down the field.
Right.
Maybe that sharpens his focus, but I'm guessing.
Yeah. I don't know. No, that's good. And, I mean, maybe Ben can incorporate some plays throughout the game that it's just, hey, there is no other option here. You're either throwing it or running it, or run to throw and see what happens and develops on it. But, I think we saw that play out a lot today in what Jackson Dart was doing, what Brian Daboll wanted to do with him, that those were a lot of deliberate quarterback run plays, a lot of college stuff, as you pointed out. And that's you can't sustain that. That's not sustainable. And it clearly showed here in this game. He gets hit by CJ and ends up coming out of the game eventually. And then you bring in, Russell Wilson, who clearly looks like he's not able to play the quarterback position in this league anymore. At one point it might have been late third or early fourth, I think his passer rating, Caleb Williams was like in the 60s. I think he finished at 83 as a passer rating. So when it looked like it was just one of these games that they weren't going to be able to really dig themselves out of the hole they created by not being in a good rhythm offensively, he was able to step up, make some plays, and finished with decent numbers for where this game really went through the first 3 quarters.
Ben Johnson is meeting the media as we speak. He just said these guys are finding a way to fight until the end and win these games. He also added there's growth each and every week right now. We'll be playing our best football in December.
Yeah.
Well, they did say they were going to clean up the penalties, and this is the first time we have seen evidence of that.
Well, it's been a couple weeks now of looking better penalty-wise since it was on the team. and it was the see something, say something mentality, and it was on the leaders, and go talk to them because I'm done. We've done all we could. The leaders or the coaches, myself, we've done everything we can. It's on these guys now. It's on the leaders to straighten this out, and that's had an impact the last couple of weeks.
I want to go back to your point about what seems obvious here, that when things start to get a little crazy, Caleb Williams gets better. That when everybody else's heart rate goes up, his seems to slow down. And you'd much rather have that than the opposite for a young quarterback. And in his first year in this system with this coach, I don't necessarily think they have to work too hard to figure out the whys on this one. And this isn't really a puzzle to be solved at this point. I think you appreciate that. And I don't think it means that you run more no huddle early. I don't think it means you speed anything up. I think you continue to do what you're doing because early in the season, he was fine on the scripted plays. Mm-hmm. And overall, the offense has been better and more productive and more explosive. And I don't want them to try to overthink this and try to work too hard. If the coaches, when they have a little bit of time, can say, hey, maybe a series here, a series there. If we get opposing personnel we like, let's go tempo and let's let him do some of this stuff. But I just think you appreciate it more than try to work too hard to replicate it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I see what you're saying there, and I can appreciate that. Looking up at the current scoreboard right now, too, the Seattle Seahawks, Dan, have jumped up to a 27-0 lead on the Cardinals in the second quarter. They're up 27-0. It's just, man, at Cardinals, that's a tough looking organization.
Yeah, this especially after it
but
appears more likely.
Week, didn't they? Didn't they beat the Cowboys last week?
Yeah, and they did it with Jacoby Brissett looking much more in command of their offense than Kyler Murray. And rumors coming out of there that with the contract decision they have to make on Murray, that they were leaning against that. And maybe this is independent of that, regardless of what Jacoby Brissett does. But the real issue is how good Seattle is.
Yeah.
That's no joke.
Well, that's a real deal defense too.
Yep. Some more quotes coming out from the Bears locker room. Colston Loveland saying, I presume tongue-in-cheek, never a doubt. He said, we got the whole quarter left to go make something happen. We went out there and did it. CJ Gardner-Johnson has the microphones in front of him, and he said, I love winning. I guess these guys love winning. It's a great feeling, and we're all happy. Cool. I'm with it. The Bears with win number 6 have topped last year's total. That's no small thing.
Yeah.
It is. It isn't even Thanksgiving yet. The Bears are 6-3.
8 games to go. 8 games to go. We have the Minnesota Vikings up next in Minnesota. It's going to be the revenge game for the Bears for that week 1 loss that they probably shouldn't have had at home.
I wish I could quantify their belief in themselves and their belief in their quarterback, but you'll love to see this. Even if they're beating teams that are and they're beating a bunch of horseshit quarterbacks, the fact that they think they're good might be more important than whether or not I think they're good or whether you think they're good.
Yeah, no, I mean this whole idea of building confidence, there is something to that mentally, and being able to appreciate that, hey, the execution of plays, when we execute them properly, we can do some positive things, and just that repetition of being able to build in more plays that Ben Johnson wants to run and to be successful and win games. It's going to go a long way in what we hope to see as a very successful era of Ben Johnson football here for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I had this text come in. You know, we always talk about the blob, and we mention it sort of from a physics perspective about the size of the blob itself, and can you escape the gravity of the blob? Do you sink to the molten core of the blob? And it was put this way by a friend of mine. It's a positive blob ions year. Last year, negative blob ions. Does that mean that the movement of the electrons gives them more energy? Is that what, are we going to start talking about valence shells? Because I took 3 years of chemistry between high school and college, but I was bad at valence shells and electron affinity. But I'm willing to take it under advisement.
And the Bears, with each win, we're getting closer
No
here
comment.
to their point differential. Bears are at -8 right now. They're getting close to that positive mark. We're getting there, working our way slowly towards it.
Well, one game kind of skewed that, I think.
I don't know. Maybe was it that Lions game? Maybe.
Yeah, I
Is that
think
what is that what
maybe
you're referring
maybe
to?
you're still digging yourself out from that one.
Oh, that Lions motorboating.
Yeah, and the Lions have just scored another touchdown as Amon-Ra St. Brown has crossed in to make it 13-3 with an extra point pending.
One of the top 10 Saints of all time.
Which one?
The Lions wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Remember, he was in the committee's top 10 list.
He was on the top 10?
Of all-time Saints? Yes.
I thought he was honorable mention. I didn't
Or
think
maybe he was.
all-time.
I don't know.
I thought he was honorable mention.
That was so long ago.
Oh, I know.
That was when the Bears were, that was when the Bears weren't good.
Yeah, I'm not sure they are. I'm really not sure they are. I
know this today, though. They were better than the Giants, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and even
every Sunday they have one team they have to be better than, and today it was the Giants, and they ended up being better than the Giants.
I also
all that matters.
Think that Ben Johnson won a game where he wasn't all that good. I think going back, whatever their game plan was against a terrible rushing defense, to not trust to pound away with the run game, to set up play action, to set up the screen game, little delay stuff. I thought this was an easy game plan, and they thought otherwise, and maybe they just thought that they'd hit him on a couple big ones early. And to be, truth be told, with some of those drops, maybe he would have ended up right. Maybe this thing's a blowout without the drops.
Yeah, I mean, if you counted 7 and you had two is it in the end zone? 2 that were dropped in the end zone?
Yep. Maybe it's a blowout without the drops. And maybe if you've got a rookie quarterback who has to throw the ball, who isn't able to run all the stuff that the little trap plays and guard lead and all the things that they were blocking. Maybe his game plan was more right than I care to admit, and I'm just using outcome bias. But maybe they saw something and that was the plan. Had those passes not all been dropped, and this thing could have been a laugher. But that's the way this game goes sometimes. And I want to avoid creating outcome-based narratives, because I'll tell you everything I wrote down. And I wrote down the Bears lost this game because of bad defense, too many drops, and a lack of commitment to the run. I had written that down when I thought the Bears were going to lose.
Yeah, and they didn't. I like this comment here, Blob from Niles. This is a really good comment too, Dan. And both of us need to be put in timeout for this.
Oh,
a giant pile of salt. That's a big miss.
Yes.
That's a very big miss.
And it was a huge miss. We'll address this at some point. I don't know if we would do it on DBU or Forward Progress, but we absolutely need to address this. Somebody else really tagged me too for not putting the Cardiff Giant on there. The great hoax of the Cardiff Giant.
Oh yeah.
My bad.
That came in email, I think. Yeah.
My bad. And the problem is, like, the misses that we may have had with the Vikings or the Lions, or eventually we do the Packers, we can make up for those.
Yes.
Because we have a second game coming. We can't make up. There is no second Giants game. All I can do, and when we did the Bears on the bye week, the fact that I forgot the Conan O'Brien show masturbating bear, I'm still kicking myself over that one.
You should.
At least I'm kicking myself over it. There could be other things I'd be doing to myself over it. That would be perhaps more on theme,
yes,
but I'm not. It would be
sure.
Kicking that I would be doing on that. But yes, I obviously appreciate when all of that feedback comes in on ones that we missed. But
all right, the Lions are up 14-3 right now. Rams 14-0 on the Niners, and the Seahawks 28-0 on the Cardinals. So those are the late games here. Then what's tonight? Tonight we have Steelers at Chargers.
Ugh.
And then Monday Night Football is the Eagles at Green Bay. Where if the Lions somehow lose this game and the Packers find a way to lose tomorrow to Philadelphia, the Bears could find themselves on top of the NFC North, Dan, and maybe they'll never give it back.
We're going to have so much to talk about, too, especially with the information about the Emmanuel Clase indictment and everything that is going down with this latest gambling issue now in MLB. We're going to talk about that on DBU. I watched a bunch of college games yesterday, certainly with the Heisman in mind. We're going to talk about all that, too. There is a ton going, and I'm headed to Bulls Spurs tomorrow night. I want to see Wemby in person. I want to stand on the floor close enough to Victor Wembanyama to actually get
to climb inside his pocket,
to get a sense for what this phenomenon is and what it looks like. But man, are we going to be busy with Bears stuff, not just tomorrow, but how a 6-3 record right now changes everything. This is setting up to be more than just in the hunt.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, if you're on top of this division, I mean, just think about it. It's a possibility. Now the Lions are looking good here early, but still a lot of football to go. But the Bears have a chance to be on top of their division in Week 10 of the NFL. One other thing too, I want to get into this week. We will in the shows is the second version of the college football playoff will come out Tuesday. The bracket will be out Tuesday. So I want to get into that during DBU on Wednesday. Thursday, we have a special guest for Forward Progress lined up. Tim Jenkins will join us.
Oh, sweet.
Talk a little football, and then we will line up a Minnesota Vikings guest for Friday. So we'll get some guests coming in to talk football as we do throughout the week and upcoming opponents.
Fantastic. That's going to do it for this edition of Forward Progress Bears Postgame. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks for checking in. And we're here for you. This is fun stuff. And I love the community that's building here in what we're doing for Postgames. So I can't wait tomorrow. I can't wait to hear your review of Beer Church Brewing. I know you have 2 meals there in the last 2 days?
Had 2 meals, and that was planned. We talked about going twice because I wanted to try different portions of the menu, but I ended up doing something the second day I didn't quite plan on doing, but we'll get into it in full detail. And keep in mind, I'm just going to give you a little preview. It was less than 3 months ago. I was in Naples, Italy, and had pizza at one of the oldest pizzerias in the country of Italy. Mm-hmm. So I still have that taste and that memory very vivid on my palate of being in Naples, Italy, and then having Neapolitan pizza this weekend.
That's a high bar. That I look
at
forward.
Beer Church Brewing.
I look forward to hearing that comparison when we gather once again tomorrow. So, like I say, I hope I'm wrong about that weather forecast, but believe me, I'm gonna go find out. That's gonna do it for us. The Bears come back in improbable fashion to defeat the Giants 24-20, and this has been Forward Progress, which comes to you via 312 Sports.